Public Debt and Privatization Committee on its consideration of the Consolidated Fund Services Expenditures under the financial year 2023-2024 budget estimates laid on the table of the House on Wednesday, 21st June 2023, Honorable Speaker. Honorable Speaker, before I get to the main text of the report, allow me, Honorable Speaker, to begin by thanking members of the Public Debt and Privatization Committee for working tirelessly to ensure that this comprehensive report is tabled in this House. Honorable Speaker, I also want to extend our gratitude as a committee to the National Treasury, the Office of the Controller of Budget, the Office of the Auditor General, and the Central Bank of Kenya for providing critical information in the process of reviewing the SFS expenditures, Honorable Speaker. The Controller of Budget and the Office of the Auditor General, Honorable Speaker, have over time proven to be very critical in promoting accountability and transparency in relation to the CFS expenditures, and have highlighted gaps which the committee is oversighting, Honorable Speaker. Honorable Speaker, it is important to remind members of this House that the Consolidated Fund Services, normally abbreviated as CFS, are excluded from the Appropriations Act pursuant to the Article 221 of the Constitution, Section 7 of our Constitution. This is because, Honorable Speaker, they are a direct charge to the Consolidated Fund and thus do not require appropriation. This seems to be an unfamiliar aspect of expenditure, in that expenditures can be undertaken without appropriation by the House, Honorable Speaker. Honorable Speaker, what we are saying in brief is that the SFS expenditures, unlike the other expenditures which we appropriate as a House, are never appropriated by this House. And so they just get direct charge to the Consolidated Fund. Honorable Speaker, for the benefit of members, the SFS expenditures comprise of the following expenditures. The first one is expenditures required to service our public stock of debt, being interest payments and redemption, that is maturity of public debt expenditures. The second item under these expenditure items, Honorable Speaker, is the pension expenditures. The third item is salaries for constitutional and independent offices, Honorable Speaker. The fourth one is expenditures related to guaranteed debt. Honorable Speaker, for the financial year 2023-2024, the SFS expenditures are the largest in terms of percentage, Honorable Speaker, at a value of 1.84 billion, Honorable Speaker, larger than the recurrent expenditures of the current government, which amount to 1.56 trillion, Honorable Speaker, and development expenditure, which is worthy Kenya shillings 807.64 billion, as approved by this House. Honorable Speaker, if you look at this figure of 1.84 trillion as the SFS expenditures, Honorable Speaker, it's about 70% of the projected revenue to be collected for the year 2023-24. And Honorable Speaker, if you compare this with also this figure, as we are talking about, Honorable Speaker, if you also compare it with the exports coming from the return from our exports, Honorable Speaker, you find the figure is also quite high. So in short, we are saying, Honorable Speaker, these expenditures are very critical when you look at the amount. Unfortunately, Honorable Speaker, we have realized that this House when you look at our standing orders, they are not very clear in terms of how do we address these expenditures, Honorable Speaker. And you can see, Honorable Speaker, even today, when we are discussing this important report, we've already passed the budget as a House. Meaning, we are not giving these expenditures the kind of the attention they deserve. And at the same time, Honorable Speaker, you realize these expenditures, they are taking such a huge chunk of our revenue, Honorable Speaker. Honorable Speaker, in the financial year 2023-24, SFS expenditures are projected to amount to the figure I've mentioned, that is 1.4 trillion. And if you compare that with the last financial year 22-23, which has just ended, the figure was 1.553 trillion. This is an increase of Kenya shillings to 83.4 billion in this year. And because they are direct charge to the consolidated fund, they will constrain our fiscal space, Honorable Speaker, by reducing the amount of resources available to finance other critical expenditures in the country. Over the medium term, Honorable Speaker, the SFS expenditures are projected to hit a figure of Kenya shillings 2.2 trillion. That will be by June 2027, Honorable Speaker. The increase, Honorable Speaker, is largely driven by expenditures required to service the growing public debt stock, which amounted to Kenya shillings 9.6 trillion as at April 2023, Honorable Speaker. Debt servicing expenditures, Honorable Speaker, on average, account for about 88% of the total SFS expenditures. What we are saying, Honorable Speaker, is if you take the totality of how much you are spending on this SFS expenditures, 80% of that goes to debt servicing, Honorable Speaker. Honorable Speaker, in this regard, in the year 2023-2024, public debt service expenditure is estimated to amount to 1.625 trillion. This is an increase of about 265 billion, Honorable Speaker, largely on account of an increase in the external debt service expenditures from Kenya shillings 362.2 billion in the financial year 2022-2023, Honorable Speaker, to 622.47 billion. And this will be occasioned by a one-off payment for the maturing debt, sovereign bond, that has been allocated a total of 241.75 billion, Honorable Speaker. Honorable Speaker, while external debt will cause periodical increases over the medium term, the risks emanating from this domestic debt remains the main concern over the medium term. This is because while external debt is characterized by concessional financing with low interest rates and long grace periods, domestic debt is characterized by rising interest rates, shorter maturing period, Honorable Speaker, and then the debt keeps on increasing year after year. In the year 2023-2024, Honorable Speaker, expenditures related to domestic debt servicing are projected to amount to 1.00 trillion. This is an increase on account of reopened or reissued domestic bonds and short-term treasury bills, Honorable Speaker. Interest payment expenditures will account for the largest share of the Kenya shillings 628.8 billion on domestic debt redemption. That will amount to 374.5 billion, Honorable Speaker. Honorable Speaker, external debt service is estimated as 622.5 billion, a 72% increase from the financial year 2022-2023, and this is as a result of an increase in external debt redemption expenditures for the year 2023-2024 that will amount to 475.6 billion, an increase due to the expected maturity of sovereign bonds of US dollars 2 billion, Honorable Speaker. We all know about the Euro bond. That will amount to 241.75 billion, Honorable Speaker. External debt interest expenditures, Honorable Speaker, will also amount to 1.69 billion, and increase primarily driven by expenditures required to finance commercial debts and multilateral debt owed to the institutions such as China Development Bank, Honorable Speaker. Honorable Speaker, the second item is pensions. And pensions expenditure will amount to 189.09 billion in the financial year 2023-2024, Honorable Speaker, an increase of about 16.45 billion. And this is mainly attributed to, Honorable Speaker, an increase in ordinary pension payments to Kenya shillings 91.23 billion in the financial year 2023-2024 from Kenya shillings 82.93 billion in the financial year 2022-2023, occasioned by an increase in the number of retiring public servants, Honorable Speaker. That is about 12,290 public servants are going to be retiring. That is civil servants and military personnel in totality, Honorable Speaker. Furthermore, in the financial year 2023-2024, pensions are expected to increase the next by annual pension increase at the rate of 3% as from 1st July 2023, this month, Honorable Speaker. So that will also lead to increase in pensions. Honorable Speaker, salaries and allowances for constitutional and independent offices, that is the third item, as well as other miscellaneous expenditures, are expected to increase by 2% from Kenya shillings 4.62 billion to 4.73 billion. Honorable Speaker, finally, are the expenditures related to debt guarantee by government that are called up. Honorable Speaker, the House will remember that most of these loans which are taken by parastatals and the county governments are guaranteed by the national government. So when they don't pay up, Honorable Speaker, the debt can be called up. So as we are talking now, Honorable Speaker, the Kenya Airways guarantee became a liability to the government in the financial year 2022-2023, and payments have been charged to the consolidated fund ever since. In this financial year, Honorable Speaker, 2023-2024, this country is going to pay a total of 17.2 billion towards that loan which was guaranteed for KQ. So the year which has just ended, we paid about 16 billion, another 17 billion will be paid, Honorable Speaker. So, Honorable Speaker, the committee has noted that the House has made resolutions on CFS expenditures based on its recommendations and has embarked on the follow-up of the implementation. For the year 2023-2024, the committee has come up with the following set of recommendations based on the consultative engagement held. Recommendation number 1, Honorable Speaker. In line with the financial consolidation plan, any in-year adjustments to the financial year 2023-2024 budget estimates undertaken by National Treasury should be within the approved 2023-2024 fiscal deficit, should be within the approved 2023-2024 fiscal deficit limit of 4.4% of GDP in order to mitigate against unplanned borrowing, Honorable Speaker. That is a total of 4.4, that's what the House approved. Number 2, in line with the House resolutions of the medium-term debt management strategy 2023, in the financial year 2023-2024, the National Treasury should adhere to the approved 50-by-50 mix of domestic to external borrowing, and any deviation in funding strategy should be approved by the National Assembly. Number 3, Honorable Speaker, 15 days after the end of each quarter in each financial year, the National Treasury should submit to the National Assembly a quarterly report on the status of all CFS expenditures, indicating actual expenditures compared to the budgeted expenditure. That for any in-year CFS expenditure adjustments, Honorable Speaker, budget cycles going forward, the National Treasury should report the overdraft facility as well as all expenditures related to guaranteed debt as a separate and substantive components of public debt servicing expenditures, and not under the salaries and allowances component of the CFS. Recommendation number 5, Honorable Speaker, the National Treasury should ensure timely payment of pensions to the pensioners and prioritize the prompt disbursement of employment contributions under the Public Servants Superannuation Scheme, Honorable Speaker. What we are saying, Honorable Speaker, as a committee, we have realized there is a serious delay in paying pensions to our retired civil servants. And it is time, Honorable Speaker, that our retired civil servants who have served this country faithfully are paid their dues in good time, so that they don't die before they enjoy their terminal benefits, Honorable Speaker. Honorable Speaker, recommendation number 6 is that in the next budget cycle, that is for the financial year 2024/2025, the National Treasury should submit explanatory notes on the CFS expenditures along with the budget estimates for the financial year 2024/2025. Honorable Speaker, explanatory notes are very important when we are analyzing budgets, and they provide more details than you can see in the figures. So it is important that as moved to the future, the National Treasury, every item submitted to the National Assembly is accompanied by explanatory notes. Recommendation number 7, Honorable Speaker, that by that 1st December 2023, this year, the Office of the Auditor General should undertake a special audit on pensions relating to pensioners paid through the Crown Agents, Honorable Speaker, Bank in the UK, and submit a report of the National Assembly within the stipulated time frame. Honorable Speaker, the committee did realize that as a result of this committee starting to be very keen on CFS expenditures, the allocation for this particular group of Kenyans, retirees who are in the UK, was reduced from 150 million to 42 million. Is it a million, Honorable Speaker? And we were not sure what really happened. So that's why we are asking the Controller and Auditor General to go out there and do a specific audit on this matter, so that as a committee we are informed of what really happened and what triggered that change. And in case there will be any issue of misappropriation or misdirection of resources, Honorable Speaker, we will be asking this House to recommend the necessary sanctions for such a case, Honorable Speaker. So, Honorable Speaker, as I conclude, Honorable Speaker, I just want to repeat what I said earlier. I re-emphasize, Honorable Speaker, that this CFS expenditures, Honorable Members, are taking a huge percentage of our budgets. And it is important that we start paying more attention to them as opposed to what is happening now. And we'll be pleading with the House, and more so our Speaker, that this now is given more time and we discuss them during the right time, Honorable Speaker, instead of discussing them when we have passed the budget. So with this many remarks, Honorable Speaker, I want to take this opportunity now. I beg to move this motion and call upon one of my very active members, Honorable Speaker, very serious legislator, a first-time legislator, but very serious. And I must thank the people of Wajir East for electing him as their representative, Honorable Ndauti, to second this motion. Thank you, Honorable Speaker.
Honorable Dawood.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker, and I thank my chair for recognizing me and allowing me to second this very important motion. Honorable Speaker, I beg to second. I will start with the alarm bells that our chair has just rung. This financial year of 2023-2024, the CFS expenditure will be at 1.84 trillion. Honorable Speaker, will you ask the members who are consulting loudly to
proceed? The members are not that loud. Just proceed. Order members. Honorable Jeanette and team.
Yeah.
Honorable Jeanette. Thank you.
Thank you,
proceed.
Mr. Speaker. Let me start with saying that the alarm bells that has just been rung by our chair